Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'll have about 10 minutes worth of some videos here we can watch, and we can get the stream started. So thanks everyone for joining me on here, and we'll get started here in just a bit. A few videos here. Hackaday prize, where are they now? Followed by AMSAT at Hamcation, as well as from there, made in New York City, behind the scenes from Adafruit. So let's get into those.
Hey everyone, it's Magenta here at SupplyFrame's Design Lab. Each year, we really put the open source hardware community to the test with our Hackaday prize. We want to take the opportunity, with the help of SupplyFrame and DigiKey, to take a look at some of our past grand prize winners and see how far they've come. We're going to catch up with our 2019 winner, FieldKit, an entirely open source, field-based data collection platform. Let's take a look at what they've been up to.
Conservify was started as this tech development lab where everything was open source, and it was a nonprofit, and we only worked on like wildlife conservation and environmental protection sort of stuff. One of our projects was FieldKit, and this was kind of built around this idea of like, okay, well, environmental sensors are helpful in these places, but they're either like incredibly DIY, or they have really bad user experiences, or they're super expensive. So can we build something that kind of fits in that space to solve that problem? And FieldKit kind of just took off. Like it ended up, we ended up using it on a lot of projects, and we've been working on it ever since. We were already part of the Hackaday community, right? And we dreamt of entering the Hackaday prize. We went to specific people in the community when we needed help with like expertise with one subject or another, came together with the perfect timing from a FieldKit perspective that we decided, we're gonna apply for it that year. Winning the prize was like such a huge validation to us. It helped us get rid of some of the imposter syndrome that, we all have. Right now we're deploying FieldKits with indigenous communities in the Amazon, with Cameroonian researchers in the Congo Basin, educators across the country. We've actually continued to evolve the product line, and we've started the development of an underwater version of FieldKit. We use DigiKey all the time. I mean, that's where we get a lot of our parts. It's especially been important in times like this where everybody is just dealing with supply chain issues, right? We absolutely love the community there, the Hackaday and Design Lab, everybody, all the people involved. The cool thing about this community is that everybody has their little things that they want to get really deep and kind of investigate and become the expert in. And the community at large just respects people for whatever that thing is, and I love that about the community. Really inspiring.
Hello, my name is Robert Bankston, KE4AL. I am the president of AMSAT, that's the Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation. We're a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization that was established in 1969 for the purpose of promoting amateur radio in space and space education. We have about 4,000 members across 52 countries, and we've been launching satellites to space since 1970. Recently we had our Fox Cube satellites. The CubeSat satellites provided FM repeaters in low Earth orbit. Our next project will be GOLF, which stands for Greater Orbit, Larger Footprint, and those will be in the higher aspects of low Earth orbits, but they provide the technology that allow us to go higher orbits into highly elliptical orbits. And so we're working on those. In addition, we also have several education STEM initiatives to include our CubeSat simulators and our CubeSat Sim Lite, which brings science to the classroom for students in the elementary to high school era to allow them to see what the weather is like in space. And we're launching a youth initiative, which is a full educational program for independent learning starting next year, earmarked toward the mid-school and high school units. Thank you for attending Hamcation.
All right, this is Daron K1DBC. Thanks for checking those out here. Yeah, video from AMSAT, and then a Hackaday prize. There'll be one more coming up here, so let me just get the net partially started here. This is K1DBC. All stations, please stand by. The Denver Radio Club Learning Net starts in 5 minutes.
W0TX repeater.
Last video here is going to be mid New York City, behind the scenes from Adafruit Industries, and they have some pretty cool stuff here. So let's take a look at that.
And it wouldn't be New York City factory footage without a view outside our front window. This is Disney. This is the new Disney hotel that everyone's talking about. Welcome to the Disney Hotel.
This is the Star Freighter.
This is right. This
Actually,
is,
this is the
this is Death Star under
this is the
construction.
Death Star
Do you want to go back to when we made the Death Star? That's right. Family packages are available. DeathStarDisney.com. Okay, let's do
Today.
All right, thanks for sticking around for that. We'll get the meeting started here in just a minute. Let's see here. All right. Don't hesitate to reach out over YouTube if you'd like, or Discord. If you ever have any things you want shown on here, let me know. Let's see here. This is K1DBC. The DRC Learning Net will start in 1 minute. All stations please stand by while the repeaters are placed into net mode.
PL off.
Hello, and welcome back to the Denver Radio Club Learning Net for March 9th of 2022. This is a great place to learn about ham radio and STEM topics in general. Thankfully, we have plenty of combined experience and expertise. This is Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie, and my name is Daron. That's Delta Oscar Romeo Oscar November. I am Net Control. We meet every Wednesday except the third Wednesday of the month at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time on 145.490 and 448.625. Both have a negative offset. This net can be broken at any time for emergency or priority traffic by using the word break. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? You can contact us via email at drclearningnet@gmail.com and at elmer@w0tx.org. We're also on groups.io under Ham Learning Net. We also stream and archive our nets on youtube.com /my Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie K1DBC. You can also search on YouTube for our club's call sign W0TX. This is K1DBC Net Control. We will begin by inviting Elmers only to check in with or without traffic. All Elmers, please check in now.
Alpha Alpha 0 Juliet Kilo, AA 0JK. Good evening, and we have traffic.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. That time we'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following Elmer. AA0JK Fred with traffic. Thank you for checking in as always. All right, as always, again, an Elmer, there's no, there's nothing that comes along with it. Basically, if you have any expertise or if you have any knowledge of a subject, you're more than welcome to check in. It's definitely not a requirement. But once more, if you'd like to check in as an Elmer, please do so now, with or without traffic. All Elmers, please check in now.
Kilo 0 Lima Alpha India, K0 LEI, Larry in Lakewood.
All right, and that time we had K0LAI Larry. Thank you for checking in as an Elmer. All right, all other check-ins to the net will be taken in alphabetical groups based on the first letter of the suffix of the operator's call sign. The suffix is the first letter after the number in the call sign. If you can, please try to use ITU phonetics as you check in, for your call sign at least, and indicate if you have traffic or questions as you do. If your suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
Hello, Sierra. Barb in Wheat Ridge. No traffic.
November 0, Echo Yankee Zulu, Jim in South Jeffco, no traffic.
Kilo 6 Hotel Juliet Victor, K6HJV, Tom Arvada, no traffic.
W0TX Repeater.
November 1, Golf Uniform Mike, Peter in Littleton.
This is Whiskey Alpha 4 Mike Bravo Golf, Bob in Aurora, no traffic.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Alpha Whiskey Charlie, Brian, Wheat Ridge, no traffic.
All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We'll go ahead and hold up there for just a moment. I'd like to welcome to knowledge the following check-ins: W0BKS Barb, N0EYZ Jim, K6HJV Tom, N1GUM Peter, WA4MBG Bob, and KF0AWC Brian. Thank you all for checking in. All right, once more, we'll take check-ins Alpha through Mike. If your suffix begins with the letters A through M, Alpha through Mike, please check in now.
W0 Foxtrot Charlie Cherry Low Tree, no traffic.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Foxtrot Papa India, Ron in Lakewood, no traffic.
All right, and that time we had W0FFC Jerry and KF0FPI Ron. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We'll go ahead and open up the whole alphabet, A through Z, Alpha through Zulu. If you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, just a good place to learn about ham radio, STEM topics. We're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. Please check in now with your call sign in ITU if you can, and indicate if you have any traffic or questions. Please call now.
Kilo Echo 0, November Romeo Echo, Jim in Littleton with traffic.
Kilo Golf 5, Papa Delta Foxtrot, Jake Denver, no traffic.
November 0, Tango Romeo Papa, Jim in Lakewood. Good evening.
Kilo 0, Yankee Echo Sierra, Ken in Broomfield, no traffic.
All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We'll hold up there for just a moment. Thanks everyone for checking things out on here. Just browsing reddit.com/r amateur radio and just some recent posts there. This is K1 DBC Net Control. I'd like to welcome and acknowledge the following check-ins: KE0NRE Jim with traffic, KG5PDF Jake, N0TRP Jim, and K0YES Ken. Thank you all for checking in. Once more, this is Duran K1 DBC Net Control. If you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net just for the counter, if you have any traffic or questions, we're taking all call suffixes A through Z. Please call now with your call sign, your name, and let us know if you have traffic questions. Please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. There'll definitely be more opportunities to check in throughout the traffic or throughout the net. We had online KS0E Alex. Thanks for checking on there. And again, if you're not in front of a radio or not available to hit the repeaters, you are always welcome to check in online. So again, KS0E Alex. Thanks for checking in. If there's a lull in the conversation, don't hesitate to check that out. Again, online, youtube.com/K1DBC, just my call sign. With that, we'll throw it over to Fred, A0JK. The net is yours. Go ahead.
AA0JK, good evening, everyone. And just wanted to make a note here that I hope we had a good turnout here as far as the response for the Forest Service's exemption of the $1,400 fee that's being placed on the Squaw Mountain repeater. Really handicapped the club and probably will end the use of that repeater location. So that would be a big loss. So we need all the support we can get here. You can find that information on the ARRL's website. And if you haven't already, please respond to that. And to those who have, thank you. And let's see, on the bigger and better things here, I just noticed that the latest issue of On the Air is out for March and April. And as usual, a very good-looking copy here. And let's see, starting out, what have we got here? Yeah, they're acknowledging the fact that the 10-meter band is really ramping up. So they've got some good tidbits there about the 10-meter band and operating on the 10-meter band. And let's see, got an article here on avoiding RF problems, how to clean up the shack there and your feed line there, getting as much of that RF to the antenna as possible. And let's see, quest for the perfect antenna. Yeah, right. No such thing. But let's see, the equipment to go into the digital multimeter, article on reflectors and talking groups. That one I'll have to look into. How to build a toroid. Don't break your toroid. They're fragile. Let's see, emergency communications, practice for disaster. Another good article there. And yeah, the perfect antenna, they got a unicorn on there. Yeah. Let's see, very good issue here. If you get a chance there, take a look, see. And also, I think that the digital version, I believe the digital version of QST is in the process of being issued. So that's from AA0JK, back to net control.
W0TX repeater.
All right, AA0JK Fred, this is Daron, K1DBC Net Control. Thank you for the information there. Yeah, a lot of stuff there for sure. Yeah, as you mentioned, the Forest Service, $1,400 annual fee. It looks like a comment here, potentially by Jerry, in regards to that. As longtime amateur radio operator and president of Denver Radio Club, very much opposed to the annual fee. Radio equipment on top of the mountaintops that'll provide emergency service communications and disaster situations. Served agencies listed: City of Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, West Metro Fire, Salvation Army, nonprofit 501c3, supported by small membership dues, and that $1,400 fee would definitely be a hindrance to continuing operating that repeater there. So, yeah, regulations.gov. We have through the end of the month here to respond to that. W0TX.org, right on the front page there. You can find more info. Let me drop here for a moment. This is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, and as you mentioned as well, the On the Air magazine. The digital edition is great to have, a great resource. Just in general, just on the air in general. But yeah, as you mentioned, our articles here: 10-meter band, avoiding RF problems, quest for perfect antenna, basics of digital multimeter, reflectors, talk groups, how to wind a toroid, and practicing for disaster. So a lot of great topics there that we've discussed quite a bit over the years, and we have a lot of experience in. So. Yeah, and as you mentioned, the QST March edition is out there as well. Plenty of articles on that. So this is K1 DBC Net Control. Good information there, Fred. I wonder if anybody has any comments and questions in regards to anything Fred has brought up so far. Go ahead. Please hold on.
Comment.
Yeah, AA0JK, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, on another note there concerning that forest service fee, if you haven't also already sent a note to your congressmen and senators, they're the ones that are going to be voting on this, so you definitely want to make them aware that we are out here and that we contribute quite a bit to things like AMSET and other emergency nets and what have you here, services. So that also would be extremely helpful to make them aware of who we are and what we do, and hopefully that will influence their votes. AA0JK, back to Net Control.
All right, AA0JK, Fred, this is Daron, K1 DBC. Yeah, it's very. It's quite important that the public and government agencies really truly understand the amount of effort and the volunteer hours that we are able to provide served agencies, and the lengths that we go to and the depths that we're able to go to within some of these organizations. So yeah, I don't think the public really understands. I'm not sure that the government really understands truly what we really actually are about, and it's kind of too bad. But yeah, let your representatives know, let your local reps know, and get them involved. I guess part of that is part of field day at least is there's some verbiage and notation. There's some documents that I can actually give you to maybe give out for this type of thing as well. It would be maybe have to reword it a little bit, but it definitely lays out from a public service and governmental agency perspective what we can provide. So yeah, great information there, Fred. AA0JK. This is Daron, K1 DBC. I'll throw it out to the net. Any other comments, questions, or check-ins, or anything else for the moment? I know that it's NRE as well had some traffic, but anything else for the moment? Please call now.
Additional note.
Yeah, AA0JK. Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, when people want to know what we contribute, not only emergency services, but every time you turn on the network, the local TV station, and look at the weather maps, all those figures that there are strung out there for areas, weather reports. I know the hams do not get credit for all the work that they do in providing that information to the National Weather Service so that you can get your weather reports, your temperatures and weather on the news. A lot of that information, probably a good portion of it, comes from amateur radio operators that get up early every morning, read their meters, and convey that information to the Weather Service. So just another note, AA0JK.
All right, A0JK Fred. Yeah, absolutely. National Weather Service, Weather Spotter Program, Skywarn. Yeah, we definitely have quite a lot to do with that. And on a daily basis, reporting hyper-local weather and providing a better picture for government agencies. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff there. Very cool. A0JK. This is K1DBC. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I guess once more at the moment, does anybody else have any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else for the moment? Please hold on. All right, with that then, we'll throw it over to Jim, KE0NRE with traffic. The net is yours. Go ahead.
KE0NRE here. Thanks for doing the net tonight, Jerome. Whenever we get snow, I think about an experience I had back in my shortwave listening days when I was a teenager. I lived in a snowy climate like this, and occasionally during a snowstorm, I could see static electric sparks jumping between the terminals of my 40-meter dipole in the backyard. It happened to be connected to a vacuum tube receiver at that point in my life, and it never did any harm, but I thought it was curious. Now that I own mostly, in fact exclusively, solid-state equipment, I wonder if there is a legitimate concern about that kind of a static buildup coming down the antenna from my dipole and perhaps doing some damage to the RF front end of my equipment. Is this a real phenomenon? And if so, are modern receivers somehow protected internally from static electricity that builds up on your antenna? Back to net, KE0NRE.
Comment.
Great question there, NRE. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that. I know, yeah, no, I'll throw it over to Fred, A0JK. Go ahead.
W0TX repeater.
AA0JK, okay. There's a good reason there for having a ground for your antenna and for your radio equipment to keep that static electricity from coming back down and damaging your equipment. Especially with vertical antennas, you will notice that if you do not have a proper ground on that antenna, you'll have a lot of noise in your signals there in your receiver. But it's advisable that you put an appropriate grounding system for your antenna so that static electricity will go straight down to ground instead of straight into the shack where it's not wanted. So a good ground system not only outside but inside. Back to net control, AA0JK.
Comment?
All right.
I think a good ground system on a dipole antenna will take care of one arm of the dipole, but what about the other? It can't be simultaneously grounded. Back to net.
That static electricity will take the shortest path to ground. So I think that just do an appropriate ground for that for your antenna system there with the feed point, and should take care of it.
All right, this is Daron, K1DBC Net Control. Good question there, NRE, K0NRE, Jim, and a good follow-up there. Appreciate that, Fred. I wonder if either of you have any other follow-up on that, or anybody else. Go ahead.
NRE here. Just out of curiosity, during the heaviest part of the snow this afternoon, I got out my multimeter and connected it across the terminals of my antenna. with no ground connected to the antenna at that point, and I was not able to measure any DC potential between the two arms. Now, I had a current balun between my coax and the antenna, so that may have done something to dissipate any static electric charge that was building up. But I looked on the internet and found a YouTube video of someone who was actually demonstrating that was happening on his antenna during a blizzard. So it made me think that this, in fact, is a real phenomenon. And even in the presence of a good ground, I'm not sure that really solves the problem for the delicate front end of solid-state equipment these days. So back to net, KE0NRE.
Question.
Perfect. Thanks there, NRE. Go ahead, Fred, A0JK with the question.
Sounds like you zeroed in there on a good video there of that. So we'd like to be able to have a look at that. So if you can, pass that information along as far as what that website was where that was put out. There'd be good information for us. Also, I believe that that one-to-one isolation transformer there in the antenna there definitely helps to isolate it to some degree. But I would like to see that video that you just made note of. That could be very interesting. AA0JK, back to net control.
Comment, NRE?
Yeah, KE0NRE, go ahead.
I will try to relocate that YouTube video, and if it's all right with you, Daron, I'll pass that link along to you, and maybe you can distribute it then through the channels that you have to keep in touch with us between meetings. Back to net, KE0NRE.
AA0JK.
Snow. This thing's shocking me.
Yeah, no problem, NRE. Yeah, go ahead. I think I may have found it here potentially, but yeah, A0JK, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, another good address here is send me that link, if you would, to Elmer at W0TX.org. That's my web address there, Elmer at W0TX.org, and we will pass that along to everyone. Thank you. Much appreciate. AA0JK.
PDF with some follow-up.
All right, sounds good there, everyone. Yeah, this is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
Trying to plug it in. I dropped it and didn't plug it.
This is K1DBC Net Control. KG5 PDF. Jake, go ahead.
Sorry about that. I don't know what I clicked, but I wound up off on another channel. So yeah, good discussions there. Current baluns are very helpful in isolating those two circuits, your radio and the antenna. Haven't had a lot of experience, particularly on firsthand, but my first Elmer did caution me when he gave me a 2-meter beam that on a windy day in Oklahoma, just the static off the buildup in that beam has zapped him a couple of times. So his advice was, if it's a windy day, just either leave your switch on ground. A lot of antenna switches have that center ground position. Or if you're up there working on it, you know, just lay a piece of wire across the beam of the antenna and the elements there to kind of equalize that charge a little bit. If you'll give me just a few minutes, I'm going to put an ohm meter on this radio. I believe solid state circuitry should bleed a lot of that static down. It doesn't take very much resistance to do that. But yeah, definitely having a spark gap or a polyphaser are certainly advisable there. So anyway, back to net for now. KG5 PDF.
Comment.
All right, KG5 PDF. This is K1DBC Net Control. Appreciate that follow-up. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and try that test and let us know results of that. And A0J Fred, go ahead.
Speaking of spark gap, sometime back, a few years ago, I saw where a ham who had those static problems with his vertical antenna, he used an automotive spark plug. Speaking of spark gaps, he used an automotive spark plug to link between his radiating element and to ground, and that sufficed to bleed off the static off of that main element there. It would static electricity would jump that arc and straight to ground before it would come on down the feed line. But anyhow, just something that came to mind. AA0JK, the ingenuity of the ham.
A comment NRE.
All right, thanks there, Fred. A0JK. Yeah, K0NRE. Jim, go ahead.
The other protective mechanism I just thought about was that, at least on my rig, on most of the bands, I run an antenna tuner between my receiver and the antenna, or the coax itself. And the configuration of that antenna tuner is to pretty much permanently have some sort of inductance shorted across the antenna terminals, which would present a really low resistance path for any static electricity. And perhaps that's what, in my case, is protecting my receiver from any static electric discharges that might otherwise do some damage to the front end. Back to net, KE0NRE.
Does that tuner also have a ground plug on the back?
Yes, it does, and it's connected to the common ground of the station. Over.
Excelente.
PDF.
All right, great conversation here. I appreciate it all there. Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
Okay, so any solid state circuitry, they're usually especially in ham radio, they're a reference to ground, which is also the shield of the coax there. So in this instance, the Yaesu FT891 presents about 3.7 kiloohms between the antenna, between the feed line and chassis ground. So just in your general wind events, that should be plenty to bleed off that static charge. But like I said, a polyphaser that is appropriately rated for the wattage that you're going to be operating on is always ideal to take any large inductive spikes from nearby lightning and such. And in the event that you were to unhook your radio, that would continue to that polyphaser would continue to knock some of that to ground. But a spark gap on your dipole is certainly a lot more robust at taking repeat discharges than what a polyphaser was. But something I did notice last time I bought the first time I bought polyphasers was a higher power rated discharge tube has a higher breakover voltage. So a 1 kW rated discharge tube breaks over at, I think, at like 800 or 900 volts, something like that. Whereas a 50 watt rated protector is going to have a breakover voltage around like 150 or 300 volts. What I deduced from that experience was you probably want to buy protectors that are closely rated to what you're going to have them on. So anyway, KG5 PDF, back to net.
All right, KG5 PDF. This is Daron, K1DBC Net Control. Thank you for the follow-up there. Yeah, a polyphaser, a lightning arrestor, or suppressor for RF to protect your equipment from EMP or power surges caused by lightning or other strong electrical discharges. So cost of $70 to $150 or so. It's not a bad purchase to try to have some insurance somewhat, at least from that. So yeah, great follow-up there on that. So this is K1DBC Net Control. I'm going to go ahead and drop here for a moment. I'm actually going to take this time to take further check-ins. If you're just tuning in, my name is Daron, call sign Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie. You're tuning in to the Denver Radio Club Learning Net for March 9th, 2022. This is a great place to learn about ham, radio, and STEM topics, and we have plenty of combined experience and expertise. If you have any comments, questions, we're more than happy to help you with anything you're working on. At this moment in time, though, we'll take check-ins A through Z. If your call suffix is A through Z, we'll take in all call suffixes. Please try to use IT Phonetics for your call sign at least, and let us know your name and indicate if you have any traffic or questions. Please call now.
Kilo 0 Delta India Quebec, John here.
This is Kilo Echo 0, Romeo Lima, Quebec, Michelle in Westminster, no traffic.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I'd like to welcome knowledge to the following check-ins. K0DIQ John and KE0RLQ Michelle. Thank you both for checking in. Really appreciate that. Again, once more, if you'd like to check into the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net, we're taking all call signs, all call suffixes. Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Again, we are streaming over on youtube.com /K1DBC, Kilo 1 Delta Bravo Charlie. My call sign. Just some behind the scenes, giving some more context to what we're talking about. If you're not licensed, you're more than welcome to check in on there. So with that, I'll throw it out to the net. Anybody else have any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else so far for this evening's net? Please call now.
PDF.
Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
Well, while we're on the subject there, the theory of a DC grounded antenna may be worth just brushing over real quickly. I believe is what it sounds like. Maybe Fred can speak more to that. Is when you've got that tuner on your HF antennas. I know a lot of UHF, VHF antennas tend to be DC grounded, but yeah, can you give us some examples on that and just kind of brush over that for us?
W0TX repeater.
All right.
So JK, boy, that ID is annoying. I wish that the club could get that fixed. Anyhow, I'm not quite clear on what it is that you wanted to address there concerning a ground. Can you be more specific, please?
Just I guess it's not really theory or practice, or really one or the other, but the antenna designs that are DC grounded. So it's basically a DC short from the antenna, from the driven element to your grounding point. But I guess there's usually enough inductance in the coils, or depending on where it's fed, so that you know RF, it shows resistance to RF, but as far as a lightning strike is concerned, it's pretty much a straight shot to ground, you know.
Actually, it's a straight shot into the shack and into your radios. I had some equipment get fried via a lightning strike, but if you just construct and hook your equipment up according to the manufacturer's instructions, you're just fine as far as the grounding and everything is concerned. I wouldn't be worrying about trying to modify anything along those lines, because you'd probably cause some problems there with the performance of your antenna. Just follow the prescribed instructions there for installation and use of your antenna, and don't try to make any modifications. AA0JK.
All right, A0JK Fred, this is Net Control, Drone K1DBC. A good conversation here. There's a bit of information that I've slightly dug up here, but I'll throw it out to PDF for Fred again, A0JK, or anyone else who has any other comments on this. Go ahead. This is Drone K1DBC Net Control. Reading a public or a post here from October 24th, 2011 on worldwidedx.com. Question about DC grounding. Very quickly here, part of the explanation here, and you have to take this with a grain of salt. This person goes on to say, DC grounded type antennas provide a very neat dual path for those lightning currents. Some of the blast will flow down the shielded cable to ground level earth terminal connections, while the rest simply flow down the center conductor and ravage the radio connected at other ends. Another person goes on to say that porcupine static discharge provides a large number of sharp points which discharge the charge buildup before strike potential is reached, similar to the old-fashioned lightning rod. There's quite a bit here for sure. This is Drone K1 DBC Net Control. I wonder if anybody else has any other comments or questions in regards to lightning arresters, DC grounded antennas, what your potential is for electricity to travel through, how to reduce that. So this is K1 DBC Net Control. I'll throw it out to the net. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, anything in regards to this? Please go ahead.
Well, it's PDF.
Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah, it is quite a rabbit trail to go down, some of this. So, from what limited experience I've had on the subject, I just throw out there the second-hand advice to folks that if you're having issues with lightning, if you're in an area that's very prone to it, you will be able to find DC grounded antennas as far as UHF, VHF go, and I think EHF has some options. It's very common practice in broadcasting. Exactly how those designs are, I couldn't tell you, but they're usually built that way from the manufacturer, and that'll be in their specifications. And as he was mentioning there, Daron, the porcupine balls is all we call them. If you get a lightning mitigation company to come out and do some surveying for you or anything like that, they're going to want to put up these little fuzzy porcupine-looking balls, and I can tell you those do work at deterring lightning away from structures. Once again, it's kind of some black magic as far as most of us are concerned. Obviously, it's scientifically proven, but they've helped a lot. We've had some industrial installations up on hilltops and places like that. Not necessarily tower sites, but and they were right there constantly taking direct strikes. And those porcupine ball things really helped reduce our direct strikes. And at that point, we stopped losing equipment. So, KG5 PDF.
Comment.
Very cool, KG5 PDF. Jake, thanks for the follow-up on that. Yeah, I'm just looking up a photo of here at a CQ static charge dissipator for lowering lightning risk at tower structure, stainless steel quills, heavy cast copper alloy terminals. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's $40. So yeah, taking direct strikes there definitely would help in dissipating any sort of issues there. So yeah, AZ or JK, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, bottom line, anytime you suspect there being any lightning in your area, disconnect your equipment. Make sure all your equipment is disconnected. Don't try to rely on any grounding stakes or anything like that to protect your equipment, because it will not if you get a hit. Also, speaking of static discharges on my aircraft, it's common on aircraft to have static discharge tabs there on your controls and the trailing edges of the controls of the aircraft to eliminate static electricity, and quite common practice in aviation. So they do work. A80JK.
W0TX Repeater.
All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Yeah, just looking at a photo of those here. Yeah, those are, looks like the kind of little poles or whatever sticking out of the back of an aileron that you may have seen. And a term I was trying to think of earlier was St. Elmers fire, another phenomenon in terms of static electricity. Seen during thunderstorms when ground below the storm is electrically charged and there's high voltage, and it's seen in aircraft as well. So that's another interesting phenomenon. So yeah, lightning is very, very powerful. We don't want to mess around with it. Unplug your equipment. Do what you can. Yeah, we don't want to take any risks. So really, really cool stuff there. A0JK. PDF, everyone else. I really appreciate all the follow-up there. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. We have another 10-15 minutes or so for the net here. I can bring up a couple of things, but if anybody else has any comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up for the net, or speak about anything else we've spoken about so far, please call now. All right, this is K1 DBC Net Control. Guess a couple of stories I can read just quickly. I'll come back to the net here in between. Over on arrl.org/news from March 3rd. Registration is now open for the USA Amateur Radio Direction Finding Championships set for April 7th through the 10th. Take place Prince William Forest Park near Quantico, Virginia. Radio orienteers from all over the country, plus visitors from abroad, are invited to attend, said ARL ARDF co-coordinator Gerald Boyd, WB8 WFK. Competitive courses are open to anyone of any age, with or without an amateur radio license. Results will help select who will be invited to fill positions on ADR S.t.e.m USA, which will travel to Serbia for the 2022 ARDF World Championships in September. Let me drop here for a moment. Amateur radio direction finding. This is K1 DBC Net Control. Great information over on homingin.com. Art and Science of Radio Direction Finding, provided by Joe Moel, K0OV. He is helping to put this event on. I believe there was a link that I found via the article here. Let's see. A lot of cool stuff. You don't have to be licensed. So a lot of cool information here. Let me see if I can find anything else on that. Let's see. What else here? Just check out arl.org for /nudes for more info on that, and homingin.com. We've spoken about that. We've had some unofficial fox hunting competitions here. So, it's a combination of orienteering and radio direction finding, and has a lot of real-world analogies for you could help to work for rescuing people in avalanches or any other sort of search and rescue agencies, you could definitely have a lot of help there. So this is really, really cool stuff. This is K1DBC Net Control. Does anybody else have any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else regards to anything else we've spoken about so far? Otherwise, I can bring up another story or two here, and we can go from there. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. We've spoken as well about this in the past. Article titled Greedy Receivers. The FCC considers regulating receivers after altimeter showdown. Written by Maya Posh on March 7th, 2022 over on hackaday.com. We've spoken about 5G and its transition and rollout. And article goes on, recently the media was filled with articles about how turning on 5G transmissions in the C-band could make U.S. planes fall out of the sky. While the matter was ultimately resolved without too much fuss, this conflict may have some long-term consequences, with the FCC looking to potentially address and regulate the root of the problem, as reported by Ars Technica. At the heart of the whole issue is that while transmitters are regulated in terms of their power and which part of the spectrum they broadcast on, receivers are much less regulated. This means that in the case of the altimeters in airplanes, for example, which use the 4.2 gigahertz to 4.4 gigahertz spectrum on the C-band, some of the receivers may be sensitive to a part of the 5G C-band, which is 3.7 to 3.98 gigahertz. Despite the 200 megahertz guard band up to 400 megahertz in the US, between the C-band and the spectrum used by the altimeters. What the FCC is currently doing is to solicit ways in which it could regulate the performance and standards for receivers. This would then presumably not just pertain to 5G altimeters, but also to other receivers outside of avionics. Since the FCC already did something similar back in 2003 with an inquiry, but closed it back in 2007 without any action taken, it remains to be seen whether this time it will be different. One solid reason would be the wasted spectrum. A 400 megahertz guard band is a very large chunk. So really good article here. And as we've talked about with our Baofangs and some of our radios, they're transmitting out of bands, and the FCC has come down on manufacturers for that. But in terms of the receivers, they are capable of receiving outside of the spectrum that they're supposed to. So that is the crux of the issue here in terms of 5G rollout and some of the avionics in question here. This is K1DBC Net Control.
PDF.
Yeah, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
Would you say it may be appropriate to speculate that those regulations would be based around, receivers that are for a specific purpose, such as altimeters? What do you think that would play into the amateur general coverage receivers and whatnot?
KG5 PDF, this is Drone, K1DBC Net Control. I certainly don't hope so. I think maybe what you're kind of hinting at there is maybe the receivers that we have now, software-defined radios, for example, or any of your kind of Uniden or Radio Shack type scanners. Here in the United States, we're able to receive all of the spectrum that we have the ability to. There is no law against it. So from DC to gigahertz, we're able to receive spectrum and analyze it. I know over in the United Kingdom, there is some other restrictions in terms of receiving. But if that's kind of what you're getting at, I certainly would hope not, because there is a lot of spectrum out there in terms of what we can receive, and the different aspects of that. So this is K1DBC Net Control, KG5 PDF. Go ahead.
That's really all I had. Yeah, I can certainly see them, regulating that in a being a life safety type system of sorts. But yeah, that is a precarious situation where they're licensed on a transmission, but we're receiving in a completely different band. That is different.
All right, yeah, KG5 PDF. This is K1DBC Net Control. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing. Yeah, who knows? Really, I mean, it's probably just the hardware just allows it, and who knows? Quite honestly, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that these altimeters, though, are able to receive outside of the bands that they're supposed to, and that's not been an issue in the past. I guess these are probably newer technologies, next gen stuff that's we've only seen over the last maybe 10, 15 years or so, and it's really only colliding now with 5G and that spectrum. So it's kind of a perfect storm, if you will, of spectrum colliding, and I'm surprised it's too bad that the FCC or the FAA, the FCC, and all these manufacturers somehow didn't catch this earlier, that this would be an issue. Very surprising. So, yeah, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Yeah, great topic there. Hopefully, yeah, with life safety, there shouldn't be any question about what happens there. So, this is K1DBC Net Control. We're ending the near of the net, but not a hard stop. Does anybody have any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else? Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I will bring up some brief things here, but before I do that, once more, does anybody else have any comments, questions, check-ins, anything else you'd like to bring up so far for this evening's net? Please call now. Let's see, if you didn't catch it before the net, for about 10 minutes, I was just playing some videos here. One was a revisit for the Hackaday Prize. This is an annual prize with quite a lot of financial behind it and backing behind it, and a lot of cool stuff here. So this is by Hackaday and let's see, Supply Frame. So they are just going back and checking out a project there. We also looked at a video by AMSAT in a presentation they did at Ham Radio at Hamcation 2022. So good stuff there as well.
For the purpose of promoting amateur radio in space and space education. We have.
And there was one other video just behind the scenes for Adafruit, some of their New York City build. They manufacture and build products within New York City, so they were just looking inside a selective solder machine here. So pretty cool stuff here. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control for the Denver Radio Club Ham Learning Net. Does anybody else have any other comments, questions, check-ins, anything else for this evening's net? Please call now. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. I don't have much more. I'm just trying to look through and see if I have anything, but Not much at the moment, but I'll throw it out to the net. Any other last-minute comments, questions, check-ins, anything else so far? Please call now. Okay, I guess then we'll probably start to wrap things up then. More information on our club, W0TX.org, for the Denver Radio Club. Our next meeting is going to be next week, March 16th, 7 p.m. Presentation is HD Digital Amateur Television, presented by Jim, K6HTV, Boulder, Colorado Amateur TV repeater, W0BTV. He's going to be presenting on covering the basics of analog and digital television, and will show us what equipment is necessary. Boulder has a digital amateur radio television repeater with coverage of most of Metro Denver and Wyoming. He's an extra class. Jim has been licensed since 1965, been active with amateur television since the mid-'70s, and built the first Boulder TV repeater in the late '70s. He is the designer and trustee of the current Boulder digital amateur radio television repeater, W0BTV. Active in Boulder areas, BCARES, since its founding in late '70s, and was the emergency communications coordinator in the early '90s. So, really interesting presentation there, and a lot of history there. So, check that out. That will be over on meet.google. Link on our W0TX.org webpage here. 7 p.m. The meeting starts at. But if you want to find something very similar to this evening's net, we have an Elmers session that takes place from 6 to 7 o'clock or so that evening as well. So meet.google, you'll find the link on W0TX.org, March 16th. What else here? If I have any other last minute things here I can think of. Yeah, appreciate everyone being on the net as always. Let's see, we had a total of 18 check-ins. Really always appreciate that. That's awesome to see. Awesome to see people checking in online and checking the video over there. Really appreciate that. If you have any last minute comments, questions, check-ins, this will be the final call, and then I'll wrap up the net.
W0FFC with graphics.
Yeah, W0FFC. Jerry, go ahead.
Ron, I don't know if anybody mentioned it tonight, but Ham Radio Expo is this weekend. There's something like 55 talks, a lot of interesting presentations. I think it costs $10 to join, and I posted a link in the chat if you're interested to go ahead and register.
Perfect. Thanks there, W0FFC. Yeah, timely notice there. March 12th and 13th this weekend, QSO Today, hamexpo.com. You can go and register $10 or $13.50 after that, or after the either way. Yeah, QSO Today Ham Expo. There's tons of presentations. This is quite an ongoing event, so there'll be a lot of deep dive and a lot of cool topics and just a lot of cool stuff there. So yeah, if you are looking for something to do over the weekend here, QSO Today Ham Expo. Plenty of top talks and a lot of cool stuff there. So yeah, thanks there, Jerry, W0FFC. Appreciate it.
W0FFC again.
W0TX Repeater.
Yeah, W0FFC, go ahead.
The other thing that's important to know is even if you can't attend it this weekend, the presentations stay live for 30 days, so you have lots of time to check in, look at some stuff, listen to some stuff. Even if you can't go this weekend, you've got other things on your plate.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks there, W0FFC. Jerry, this is a K1DBC Net Control. Yep, they do archive it, so you can view it after the fact if you aren't available over the weekend. So, yeah, appreciate that that notice. Thank you. All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Again, thanks everyone for being here this evening. Yeah, more info, W0TX.org on our club. You can always email us, drclearningnet@gmail.com. Elmer at W0TX.org. We post information at groups.io /G/Ham Learning Net and or on youtube.com/K1DBC. Appreciate everyone being in here this evening. Again, next week is our meeting, so we won't have a Learning Net over the air this next week. So, check out W0TX .org for more information on how you can join that meeting. Everyone is welcome to that. So, with that, all stations, please stand by while the repeaters are placed into normal mode.
PL on.
All right, this is K1DBC Net Control. Thanks again, everyone, for your continued participation here. And so wherever you're at in the world, keep your comments, questions, check-ins coming in. And everyone take care, and we'll talk to you all next week. This is K1DBC Net Control, 7 through to all, and I am clear. Everyone take care.
K1DBC AA0JK.
Yeah, AA0JK, Fred, go ahead.
Yeah, the operating position there looks great. Did you get kicked out of the living room and into the closet?
This is K1DBC Net Control. No, just decided to just put it into a spare living or spare bedroom here for now, and we'll see from there. So yeah, a little barren on the walls, but appreciate that there, Fred. K1DBC AA0JK.
Okay, Drone. Thank you. And it looks great. Much appreciate. AA0JK 73.
All right, thanks everyone for watching on here, and we'll close out the net. Appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next time.
NBC Television.